Hey, welcome to Performance Reviews, where I give you the review from the technician's point of view. Today I have a Royal Commercial canister made in the US. It even says it right here. And this canister is probably newer than you think it is. It looks like it's probably from the 40s to the untrained eyes. This is actually from the late 90s. I think they discontinued these things around 2000. And this is a commercial variant. And if you're unaware, actual commercial vacuums are rare to exist outside their life period. A lot of times these things get ran through and thrown away. So having this just around is abnormally rare. And this is a commercial variant of a home vacuum, which normally would have a slider on-off controls here, or at least a 2-speed motor here. This just has a push button here. It's really old school the way this is. It doesn't even have a power brush. That power button just has such a tactile click to it, and the sound of the motor just turning on full blast as well. And that's perhaps one of the weirdest things, is this just has a straight suction tool reminiscent of something from the 50s, and it has a hard floor brush right here. I'm missing the dusting brush, but it had a nice fluffy dusting brush it came with. It has a really good upholstery tool, the full-size crevice tool right here, really good. So it's a nice cleaner. What's interesting is the bottom side of this. The bottom side of this, they used the same kind of wheels that they used on some of their uprights here. They did use pretty unique casters. These are nice, heavy-duty. I don't think I've ever replaced these before. The other thing is there was never a cord rewind for these for whatever reason. They always just kind of wound up in the back. And with this big 3-prong commercial cord, it just never fits on this halo properly. Now, speaking of the back, this is back in the days. This is back in the days when, yes, you could take this and use it as a blower. Now, why in God's name you would want to blow dust all over the place, I don't know, but that was definitely a feature that vacuums used to have, and I guess some people would use those. Though they are kind of leaky. The way this is made, very specifically, this model, the way that it's made, sucking through, there's leaks here, and it's really meant for air to move this way and not this way out of it. So it is going to leak a lot of air, so I don't think you could even blow up a mattress. Also, there's nothing sealed, so air does leak around here as well. So again, I'm not sure what really practical use that would have had. The other thing is the hose is kind of quirky, because this is very similar to a filter queen, the way that this goes on, and even the accessories have this button lock reminiscent of a filter queen. Though, if I remember right, the stuff is really not that interchangeable. The other thing that's weird is the button lock for the wand on here is off to the side. So they meant for you to lock the button on the side. That was something that Royal used to do. If I had bought this back in the day, I would have been really frustrated by this. So the tool swivels here partially, and then swivels here, meaning you have a double swivel while you're trying to push the tool. And it's a really awkward double swivel. And they're both basically swiveling on almost the same axis. So again, swivel there, swivel here. That also means the button that you unlock this with is traveling. So when you go to pull this off, this button, and I'll show you, we'll remove the rubber collar, this button gets stuck right here. Yeah, so it's moving that all that distance back and forth constantly, and it's a random. It's not, when you're vacuuming, this is not necessarily going to be in the middle the way this is. So yeah, that rubber collar kind of works against you. And then the other thing that's weird is the button locks are all on the side rather than forward. There's nothing necessarily wrong with it, but it's weird that there's a button lock basically that will be 90 degrees offset from the other button lock. So that's a little bit weird. Their non-commercial models also had that lock on the side, course, we have suction reduction. And of course, Royal's always had crush-proof hosing. So that Plastiflex hosing, kind of almost ahead of its time. This is kind of right when we started seeing Plastiflex become real common in vacuums. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Royal, Royal really had an emphasis on filtration early on. We had HEPA type, and these are paper bags that were quote-unquote HEPA. And a lot of times when you would buy these, they would come with a pre-filter, but not if you bought the HEPA. That's right. So if you bought the regular bags, and I'll put a picture of them here, you would get the pre-motor filter to change out. But if you bought the HEPA bags, just the HEPA bags came in the package. Again, weird quirk from Royal. This package is just very old school with the phone. This is, if you order them, this says the Prop 65 from California. It says it's going to give you cancer. Anyways, if you order these bags, this is the package they come in today. This is not a vintage package that I'm holding. This is the current package. If you order it from TTI, that's what you're going to get. Now, of course, they have these nice heavy-duty latches. And these metal latches are the sort of thing you're going to catch on something, you're going to bend them, and then you're going to bend them right back. And in here, we have the classic inner bag design, very similar to a TriStar. And of course, because it is the universal vacuum bag, I have put a Henry bag inside here. It fits beautifully over this collar, and the filtration of those Henry bags is much better than these. And again, this rubber gasket here is what fits on here. Then going in here, there will be a yellow pre-motor filter, which I don't have in place because, again, I'm using HEPA bags. It's not really necessary, but it was a foam filter that would be inside there. The machine also has this vinyl carry handle, which is, it's quite pliable. Like, the machine bounces up and down. You can feel the handle moving. These do break, but this one's nice and pliable still as well. So let's go ahead, plug it in, and see what it sounds like and how it does in terms of carpet cleaning, because it doesn't have a brush roller. Let's go ahead and test its working vacuum and see what kind of numbers we're getting. Well, 41 inches of working vacuum and 79 inches sealed are excellent numbers. And back in the days, these were considered powerful vacuums. They never felt quite as powerful as like a Filter Queen, but you could definitely feel this was more powerful than something like an Electrolux just to the bare hand, and this Royal doesn't disappoint. Alright, I found a promotional video from Royal themselves, and apparently back in the day this used to get closer to 100 inches of sealed vacuum. It's probably due to them testing it at altitude more than age. Headphone warning, we have switched to the studio microphone, so you're going to hear the real sound of the machine as I'm picking this stuff up. We have fine sand, breakfast cereal, cat litter, and some not so fresh pet hair. Let's see how this does. All right, well, I got the breakfast cereal, not all the cat litter, but it got the majority. It pushed around one piece. We see some pet hair left behind here, but in the middle, no pet hair. So, and then we see the sand again, edge cleaning not so good, almost all gone in the middle. And this again is indicative of this nozzle design. Again, not great edge cleaning because it's only cleaning from here. This is supposed to shoot out suction that way, but it really doesn't look like it does that very well. We just have this brush here, which looks like all the pet hair it did pick up just got stuck in these bristles. And you have these scoops here to pick up the bigger stuff. That's why you saw the breakfast cereal go in there. So that's really curious how that worked. This thing's very square. It's not very aerodynamic in its shape inside. And I would be willing to bet if we put a better nozzle on here, we would get better results. So this tube fits right into a Miele 34mm fitting with some friction. So let's see how a modern nozzle does with this, because I'm just curious how that's going to do. I think those results speak for themselves. The modern VisaWorks engineered Miele nozzle works so much better on this carpet. It did leave some breakfast cereal and a little bit of sand behind, but you can see it picked up the pet hair and the sand and the cat litter that it left behind otherwise. And you saw it work on the edge as well in the middle. So adding a modern nozzle really does make a difference with vacuum cleaners. Alright, we're going to try the hard floor tool on this, and now I don't know how much it's going to come out on camera, but the hard floor tool has cutouts in the front to allow big objects to pass. So we're going to go forwards with this, and we have fine sand, breakfast cereal, cat litter, and some not so fresh pet hair. Let's see how this Royal does. Well, at first glance, that looks great. And in the middle, it looks great. But up here, it didn't suck up and just displaced so much stuff. Like, so much stuff. And again, the edge cleaning, oh my gosh, this attachment's the same way. This suction stops about right here, and there's no way for the suction really to get to the edges very efficiently. So big stuff is just going to get dislodged around the edges. Man, I'm really surprised. I thought this was going to work a lot better. So yeah, the Royal on hard floor, not the best. Now, maneuverability with this is kind of crazy because you have a hose that basically doesn't flex and hangs over the canister another like half foot to a foot almost. So when you're maneuvering this, let's say you want to turn around, you have to turn all that around. It's kind of like driving a semi-truck compared to today's canisters. And I think machines like this are the reason that some people see canisters as a hassle, because this is absolutely terrible. And as I'm pulling this around, something that's happened quite a few times is rather than the back wheels stop and allow it to turn on the casters, quite a few times I have drifted those back wheels like that. So those back wheels tend to drift as much as they do roll, making this, again, very awkward. And the whole thing, when it goes over transitions, just makes such a sound. So should you own a Royal commercial canister? Well, if you are a vacuum collector and connoisseur of vacuums, you will enjoy its quirks and features, as Daddy Doug says. But if you're trying to use this to actually get a job done in its intended role, which is commercial house cleaning or office cleaning, there are better options out there now for sure, and there are definitely better options when this thing was made. Interesting look in history, and a brand again that's really just not around anymore, and you don't see much about Royal anymore. If you're unaware, I've done a few videos on Royal, but Royal was an American brand that refused to innovate and basically died off for lack of innovation, and then got bought by the Chinese conglomerate TTI, who owns Hoover and Oric and all those. No longer with us. So I hope you've enjoyed this look into vacuum cleaner history. Definitely subscribe if you want to see more vintage vacuums. If you want to see new vacuums, definitely hit that subscription as well. We do plenty of new vacuum reviews as well. And if you really love what we're doing, check out our Patreon, where we give exclusive videos and early access, and it's a good way to support the channel directly. Thanks for watching, folks. Have yourself a wonderful day.